I'll do a little intro, Alex, and pass it over to you.
Cool.
You good? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Concordia University's Fourth Space today. Thank you for joining us for Climate Geopardy, Climate Emergency Game. Yeah. Woo-hoo. Part of the Worldwide Climate and Justice Education Week. To help situate you, we are streaming to YouTube. We're live from Fourth Space, and we are located on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. Here at Fourth Space, we work university community to help mobilize knowledge with daily activities, examining research questions and projects across the university. And we are running this as a live streamed Zoom meeting, so comments and questions are welcome there. But this is really a game for people here in the space. And thank you so much for coming in for this. We're big fans of Climate Jeopardy here at Fourth Space. Just to let you know, we are recording this, and so we will want to get microphones to people as when they're answering questions, so we'll be doing that. That's enough from us. My pleasure to hand it over to our host for Climate Jeopardy from Concordia's Climate Emergency Committee, Alex Pache. Alex, welcome back.
Hi, everybody. I'm here with Juliet. We're from the Climate Emergency Committee, which is a group of faculty and students at Concordia that are pushing for climate action and awareness about the solutions and impacts of climate change and the science as well. And one of the things we've done over the past 5 years since we began is develop Climate Jeopardy, which is an interactive game very loosely based off Jeopardy. The G is there because geo means earth. And so don't expect Jeopardy rules. I'll explain the rules briefly after this. And this is part of Worldwide Climate and Justice Education Week, which is just a group at Bard College that is combining are making a week-long event and a map with a bunch of different climate education related things. And so the way this will work is that we'll divide into 3 teams. We'll do teams of 3. And if anyone is online, do we have anyone online?
Do we? Not at the moment.
Okay, so that's fine and makes it easier for us. So it's not what is on our screen right now.
Where's the?
So if you guys want to, you're in teams of 3 now, right? Well, yeah, this works. So if, so what will happen is, you should come up with a team name real quick, and then we'll do a question to determine who goes first. This is for Slido, is you could play online if you wanted to with your phone, but we will. So, oh yeah, we need the whiteboard. Yeah, go take care of that.
Okay.
You just ask
ask
Birdie. Well, just so everyone can see, there's a whiteboard, so just ask Birdie. So does everybody have a team name? Yeah, it's better if you move just so you can't hear each other discussing. And basically what's going to happen is every team gets to choose a question every round, and then you have 30 seconds after I read out the question to find the answer. If you get the answer right, you get the points, and we go to a little explanation. If you get it wrong, it goes to the next team for half points, and we'll determine the order of the teams based on a question coming up. So first, do we have the whiteboard? The whiteboard's coming in. Let's hear your team names. We got any team names?
We're Sustainable Opulence.
Sustainable Opulence. That's a beautiful name. And for y'all, the bad The Bad Babes. We'll keep it PG. Yeah, put it under so that we could separate into three. Okay, The Bad Babes. Sustainable Opulence, The Bad Babes. And for you over there? Backstreet Jars. Jars. Okay, cool. Mason jar, yeah. Mason jars are sustainable. Okay, so to start it off, this is what the questions are going to look like, and you could see the yellow bar is going to go down. The yellow bars are going to go down. You have 30 seconds, and you're going to hear this beautiful music, which is our version of the Jeopardy song. If are on the goal, and this still project. Is there team farthest from the correct? For this one, it's just, I want an answer. It's more than 18 gigawatts, luckily. So it was projected that would be 18 gigawatts.
Do we yell out, or what do we do?
Yeah, for this one, you could just yell out. This
75.
75 from the Babes.
68.
68 from the Sustainable Opulence. And the Jars? 27. Okay, well, everybody is very far off, which is a good thing. Over 720 gigawatts were installed by 2020. Yeah, so the Babes were the closest with 75, and then it's Sustainable Opulence and Backstreet Jars. So that will be the order of teams answering the questions. And so this is great news. Maybe let's get this out of the... So it's great news, right? Like, it shows how much things could change and how quickly things can change. If it was projected only to be 18 and what is that, 700, no, 70 times as much almost. And by the end of 2023, we're at over 1,000. And you can see renewables is about 30% in 2022 of electricity generation. So good news. This will now be our order, and we'll go to the main question page so I could show you what it's like. So here are the 25 questions. They're based in 5 categories. We have climate science, nature impacts, human impacts, personal solutions, and system solutions. And then the first 2 rows are 200 points, which you could see up there. Then it's 300, 400, 500. So more points, the more difficult the questions are. And you can see the subjects based on what you see on the screen here. So we'll start with the Babes. We have until 4 o'clock. What time is it? So we have 52 minutes. So no
Cool.
pressure. So you pick.
So we
a-
pick one. You said nature impacts. You feel good about. Let's do seasons. Nature impact seasons.
Nature impacts seasons for 500 points. Going big.
I can't see. I couldn't see that. Whatever. No. Yeah.
So-
we're owning it.
The timing of seasons are changing at a rapid rate. Some plants are blooming 2 weeks earlier than in the past. How can these changing times be a problem for plants and animals? You have 30 seconds, and the other team should try to figure out an answer too, because if they get it wrong, it goes to you for half points.
Phenological mismatch.
Is that the answer?
Yeah, well, usually there's the timer, but yeah, we're still figuring out our flow here, so this needs to move.
Yes, this is annoying.
But of course, Jordy is our resident biologist, and that is correct for 500 points.
Yes.
Give me the answer.
So, what did you say exactly?
Phenological mismatch.
It's so basically what that means is when different things bloom and different timings of things for animals and organisms get misaligned, it causes disruptions in the food chains. And as climate changes, so do the seasonal patterns, and so their schedules won't align. A great example of this is songbirds and oak trees. So oak trees are blooming and budding earlier, so then the caterpillars are not necessarily hatching at the ideal time, so their numbers aren't as high. So when songbirds come to feed on them, they have less food, and that affects their population. So there's this cascading effect, and this is happening in a lot of ecosystems because of climate change. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Whoop.
Sustainable opulence.
Sustainable opulence team, please pick a subject.
Go big or go home.
Go big. Do it.
We'll take personal solutions for 500.
Biggest. 500 points. How can we relay all these pictures to an important action to reduce your impacts? You have 30 seconds to discuss. The music should,
Okay.
it's not touched.
Okay, we have a layered answer. So, all these things, fast food, like shopping. Oh, sorry.
No, 30 seconds to think about it, and then you can say it. So you have a moment to think. So when the bar is
Rushing.
so
Fast
think
fashion, fast food.
Yeah, don't keep your answers to yourself. You're helping the other teams.
I think it's the goal is reduced consumption overall, like anti-consumerism sort of. No fast food, no fast fashion. Not like having all the newest technology.
That is correct for 500 points. Of course, we have, how many of you are sustainability ambassadors?
None of us.
Okay, none of you. Right, okay, we have knowledgeable people
I'm
around.
just extremely intelligent. Thank you very much.
Okay, so of course it is overconsumption. All those pictures were a bunch of electronics, a bunch of food, and a bunch of clothes. So, of course, it's really important the stuff that you buy. Also, a caveat for all of these personal solutions: climate change is very much a systemic problem, and most of the burden should be on systems. But we do believe at the Climate Emergency Committee that there's a ripple effect, and cultural change is also very important. And so part of that is changing your own habits and inspiring other people. And one of the things you could do is consume less, of course, because everything you consume has a carbon footprint. Here is a pie graph for the average American's carbon footprint, pretty similar for Canada. So the stuff you buy is 26%, you can see at the bottom there. So around a quarter of your emissions is the products you buy. So of course we have to have sustainable options to sustainably consume. But of course we also buy new, we have to buy new sometimes. And luckily, if you could just press buying new right there, we do have some cool options to understand what to do for good purchases, especially in fashion. So fashion is apparently around 10% of global emissions. It's just from clothing. And stand.earth.fashion, you could get this, or fashion.stand.earth, excuse me. You have this great ranking of a bunch of really popular brands, and you could see that none of them get better than a B-. And this is rated based on a bunch of different things along their production and distribution. And interesting enough, you could see some outdoor brands like REI in the US and MEC in Canada. MEC has the lowest rating of all, which is really disturbing because it's an outdoor brand. So you really have to do a bit of research if you want to sustainably consume. And of course, e-waste and electronics are a huge emitter of greenhouse gas emissions. So that's more of a systemic change we have to make. Well, you could keep your electronics as long as possible, but having the right to repair and having electronics that are easy to change the battery and change different parts of it, but also have worker welfare and have conflict-free minerals. We need to have those options. In Europe, they do. They have something called the Fairphone. But in Canada and North America, we do not yet. So this is something to push for in the future. Okay, let's go to the Backstreet jars. So far, we're 2 for 2, 500 points. Let's see if the Backstreet jars can keep it up. But also feel comfortable going to easier questions. It's not.
Can we do foot, please?
You could do foot for 300, for 300 points in personal solutions. What? So keep in mind you have 30 seconds. There's going to be a timer. I'm going to enforce this now. You don't give your answer until the timer's over. Pardon? There's a timer. There's a timer. Hi, Mal. You could join the team if you want. So what is the most effective way for an individual to reduce their carbon footprint? Is it A, use less plastic, B, stop using a car, C, take one less flight a year, or D, a plant-based diet? You have 30 seconds.
We're gonna guess D, a plant-based diet.
Okay. I guess we don't need 30 seconds because you guys are very good. D, a plant-based diet, but sorry. That is incorrect. So for 150 points, we're going to the babes.
D, a plant-based diet. So it's not.
Okay, we'll go with C, take one less Atlantic flight a year.
That is also incorrect.
No way.
So for 75 points, sustainable opulence. We'll go with. That is correct. So of course, there's many ways to reduce your carbon footprint. Using less plastic. Plastic has emissions when it's produced, but it's not a huge emitter itself. But your transportation is pretty important. And of course, there's take one less Atlantic flight a year. But overall, with the amount of, if you're using a car regularly, that you do have a larger carbon footprint. And this is a graph of different modes of transportation because transportation is a huge personal emission for most people. And you can see, of course, flights have huge emissions. Cars, if you have one passenger, and this is grams of carbon of CO2 emissions per kilometer traveled. So you could see car, one passenger is a lot. Bus, because so often buses are actually empty, especially later in the day, it's not as great as you would think. A car with 4 passengers is better than bus in general, surprisingly. And this is, as we get electric buses and hybrid buses, this is not the same. But then, of course, trains and coach buses and Eurostar, which is high-speed trains from my understanding, are the most efficient way. And of course, there's active transportation, so walking, biking, of course, we all know that, very low emissions and good for your health. All right, so
Back to the babes.
back to the babes.
Good enough album.
Back to the
Babes.
Backstreet babes.
Should we go 500 again? Yeah. Okay, we'll go system solutions for 500.
Sectors. What part of the economy has reduced their greenhouse gas emissions by over 60% since 1990? Is it A, transportation, B, oil and gas, C, electricity, D, heavy industry? You have 30 seconds. Please discuss.
This is global? Global economy?
This is Canada, actually.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I should have
That makes a big
been
difference.
more precise.
More than like red.
Is the answer D, heavy industry?
That is false.
Oh, shit.
So now we're going to sustainable opulence.
The opulence.
250 points.
Okay, we're gonna go C, electricity.
That is correct for 250 points.
There is zero
So-
confidence every time we answer.
This is for Canada. You can see this graph. If it's below the line, if it's going downwards, then it's a reduction. If it's upwards, then it's an increase. And this is in the past 24 years, the difference in emissions. 34, since 1990. And you could see that electricity has reduced by 60%, and then coal production, of course, reduced by 30% from all the closing coal plants. Buildings from energy efficiency and better windows, and light manufacturing is also reduced. And then waste has reduced, but then after that we have transport, our buildings actually, sorry, the other one was heavy industry.
What
We
is
have-
heavy industry?
Heavy industry is things like steel production, cement. There's a lot of initiatives now to reduce the emissions from those. And in Quebec, they're doing some innovations with that of using electricity to produce these things, since we have so much hydropower. But for the rest, everything has increased. It's not all super significantly, but oil and gas, of course, has increased in Canada in their emissions by almost a quarter. So this shows why carbon pricing is really important, because these are all heavy on carbon emissions in general, and there needs to be more pressure on them to reduce them, because other things have not worked as they have in other parts of the economy. All right. Oh yeah, and just some Project Drawdown. If you don't know Project Drawdown, wonderful resource to check out. There's a book, but their website as well shows they've done a huge accounting of the best ways the world could reduce their emissions in different sectors. And it's super interesting and really well researched and well communicated as well. And the best and most efficient way is just to reduce emissions globally is just reducing food waste, which is super interesting. And then plant-rich diets as well is also a really efficient way. And so I highly recommend checking this out. Another interesting one is refrigeration management, just making sure that the gases in the back of air conditioners and fridges, that they don't get released, so properly disposed of, has a huge effect.
There's a lot of controversy now actually with fridges. Yeah, with refrigerators specifically, because if you look at a refrigerator that was built in the 70s, they're gonna last forever. They're not gonna leak. They're gonna be pretty at least energy consistent, and I don't know. But nowadays, a lot of appliances that are becoming even more energy consuming, and they're breaking down, and they're built not to last, specifically with very what's it called, non-renewable materials. And so even exactly,
Planned obsolescence.
yeah, exactly. And it's just it's horrible, it's criminal, and it's there's no reason why a fridge shouldn't last your lifetime and your child's lifetime. They're so easy to make.
Yeah, that's another reason systemic solutions are important, because there needs to be regulations for companies and corporations to produce long-lasting things again. I know there's been regulations like that in Europe, but I haven't heard of it in Canada yet, unfortunately. Sustainable opulence.
On a roll.
We'd like to do human impacts for 500.
Human impacts for 500. Canada. Describe how and why two of these places are feeling the effects of climate change. You have 30 seconds. We got our All right, opulence. Let's hear your answer.
Okay.
For southern Quebec, one, there's been a lot of like increased flooding that we've been seeing, as well as the increased like urban heat island effects, especially in our cities. And then,
And why is this happening?
well, a lot of it is the fast thawing of snow. Also the fact that our cities are getting larger and larger without actually access to green spaces. The increased pollution is increasing the temperatures within our cities up to like 10 degrees so far. So that one we're noticing here.
Okay. And second place?
Yeah, so for the Yukon, one, we're seeing like continued deforestation and damage to water systems. A lot of that is happening because of the mining that's happening. Within the Yukon, there's a lot of fighting going on for watershed protection, and that is also impacting caribou migration. So flooding and sort of the construction that's happening with mining has made some of the previous like paths that caribou have been taking impossible. So it's disrupting their ability to access traditional grounds.
Right, but that's not climate change, that's mining.
I would say that like the like changing in of like where there's water instead of ice is a part of climate change that's affecting their migration.
Unfortunately, I'm not satisfied with your answer, I'm sorry to say. I'll see what Blackstreet Jars have to say for half points.
Okay, so for Alberta and BC, there's more extreme and more frequent forest fires. That's because of the longer, drier season, and more, also more extreme weather events like lightning, fires caused by lightning.
Great. And number two?
For Yukon, I'd guess that the ice cap melt is probably the largest issue.
There are no ice caps in Yukon, unfortunately.
Can we guess again?
I think what we'll do here is give half points to, so we'll give, because your Southern Quebec one was fair, so I'll give you 250 for that, and I'll give you guys 250 for the Alberta BC one.
50 for each?
Yeah. Oh, a lot of tension on that one. So there was close, the caribou migration is important, but the reason caribou migration is changing is because of earlier melting ice.
Migration. What are you talking about? That's animal migration.
Right, but the reason you gave wasn't climate change related. I love the passion, but it's because there's earlier melting. And the winter roads, which are used by a lot of communities up there, which are just the rivers freezing over, are melting earlier, so they're less reliable, and that affects the access of communities to the greater world. And of course, there's erosion related to melting permafrost as well. Then Prince Edward Island, we have erosion from more storms and sea level rise. Southern Quebec, increased flooding, as you said. A lot of it is from more intense precipitation, which is related to climate change, and also quicker snowmelt, which you guys got. But interestingly, in Southern Quebec, a lot of the flooding in the past decade is because of mismanagement of dams. It's because of climate change, in addition to mismanagement of dams and building in flood areas. So that's unfortunate. And then Alberta, BC, of course, more wildfires, drier conditions lead to more fires. All right, good job. We got some half points there. And so just for a little update. When the winner says the game is rigged. Who's next?
Never mind.
Babes, you guys took the Canada, right? So then it's sustainable.
Okay. So sustainable.
Oh, Backstreet Jars. Sorry, I thought. Yes. Okay. So Backstreet Jars is the main question.
Backstreet
'Cause you guys
Jars.
just chose it. Sorry.
We'll do for climate science, Ice Baby.
Ice Baby for 200 points.
Ice. I'm a wizard.
Name one reason why we care that the ice sheets are melting. Name 2 reasons to double your points for 400. You got 30 seconds.
Okay, we're ready. So one reason is sea level rise.
Yes.
And the second reason is habitat for animals like polar bears, walruses, seals that need sea ice. to
I'll
survive.
take it. I'll take it. So that's 400 points. Congratulations. So sea level rise. Of course, as the ice sheet melts, the sea level rises, and it's expected to go up. If Greenland melts completely, I believe it's 7 meters that the ocean is supposed to go up. And then there's ice feedback, which is an important one that's a bit more sciencey, but basically it's also known as albedo. All the ice and white surfaces reflect the sun's energy and sends it back into space. And as there's less and less ice, it's getting absorbed by the water or the land instead, which increases heating. And then these, among others, of course, there's habitat-related things that happen because of melting ice. And just click the little down here. And that's an important subject in general in climate change, are feedback loops, which is that as something, global warming causes a change that increases that change to happen. So as I mentioned with the ice, there's global warming, and then that leads to less ice, leading to more energy being absorbed by the planet and more global warming. And you could liken this to how when you bring a microphone close to a speaker, it gets louder and louder because the speaker is sending a signal to the microphone, and then the microphone is sending back to the speaker, and that's a feedback loop. And that's also a huge reason in general why we have to be careful with climate change, because there's a bunch of different feedback loops in the Earth systems. And so we have to protect our Earth. All right, next team. Well, we have the Backstreet Jars just caught up with 650. So the Babes, it's time for you to catch back up.
Climate science for 500.
Climate science for 500. Snow. Why can snowstorms be more intense in Canada because of global warming? You have 30 seconds.
So there's more humidity in the air now, so that means that the precipitation is more concentrated with like the wind patterns that go up to like the north, like the Arctic Circle. And then as well, because we have like all the fresh water, like the lake effect and stuff, whenever there is more like humidity, more like precipitation, whenever like things like lake effect, or whenever there is like, I don't know, like, you know, like quote unquote normal changes of climate like snow, it's felt a lot more intensely.
Why is there more humidity in the air?
Because everything is getting warmer.
Because it's so if it's warmer, there's a lot of fresh water. There's more evaporation of these lakes, and so more humidity.
I'll give it to you for 500 points.
Back in the game.
Back in the game. So hot air can actually hold more moisture because the molecules are farther apart. And so there's more space in between them to hold the moisture. And this is on top of there being more moisture in general because there's more energy in the system as there's more heat. And this could lead to more snow because we're more often closer to 0 degrees in Canada. And snow actually happens closer to 0 degrees, you'll notice when it's like -30, it usually doesn't snow because the air molecules are so tightly together when it's cold that it squeezes out all the moisture. And so these 3 reasons are why there could be more snow. And it's important to know this because it's kind of used as a climate denial thing as well. There's that classic thing of, I think it's in the American Congress, he came with a snowball to be like, there's snow outside and it's spring or whatever. Yeah, that guy's problematic. Okay, so.
I love this game.
It's not rigged anymore.
We're good. We're back to being good. So sustainable opulence, you guys can choose.
We're gonna do system solutions for 400.
Money, money, money. How much more money does the Canadian government give to help fossil fuels companies compared to clean energy, also known as subsidies? You got 30 seconds. Is it 4 times more, 9 times more, about the same, or 1.5 times more?
Okay, we're gonna go with B, 9 times more.
You went with B?
Fighting happening.
B is false. For 150 points. Backstreet Jars. Got some whispering going on. We have a rift happening in the Sustainable Opulence team.
All right.
Well, let's hear it, the jars.
D.
D, that is also incorrect for 75 points. Back to the babes.
The answer is A, 4 times more.
The answer is A, 4 times more. For 75 points.
Wow, it feels like it would be a lot more because the Canadian government is fucking garbage.
Yeah, well,
It's not a bad guy.
it's 4 times more. So that's around 4.8 billion in 2020. It was hard to get these numbers, so there's no updated numbers yet. But from what we could find, clean energy gets around 800 million. This was back in 2020, so things may have changed. So that's a pretty huge difference considering all the negative externalities of dirty energy. And you can see that if Canada used the fossil fuel subsidies just as for social programs, it would be enough to educate 360,000 people, annual health care for 880 million, job training for 500,000. So that's a lot of money. And luckily, good news is that Canada committed just like 6 months ago to eliminating inefficient fossil fuels subsidies. So that accounts for like $1 billion, and there's still a bunch of loopholes, but at least it's progress in the right direction. But Canada has the worst record for fossil fuel subsidies in the world.
So backstreet jars, you can choose.
Can we do plants or nature impacts for 300, please?
Say that again?
Nature
Plants.
impacts.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, plants.
Nature impacts for 300. Over time, how will plants in North America react as the climate warms up? Will they A, move northward and up mountains, B, move southward and down mountain slopes, C, change their color, D, move southwards and up mountain slopes? You have 30 seconds.
A.
That's correct. So this is a simplification, but in general, forest ecosystems are going to move northward. You can see this is a mountaintop, so they also move up mountains. Wait, okay, sorry, I just thought there was something wrong. And this is because often the limitation as they reach the top of the mountains up north is temperature. And as temperature warms, they'll slowly succeed farther and farther up north and farther up the mountain. While this isn't necessarily a bad thing for mountaintops, especially in eastern North America, this is alpine tundra, the grassy thing above the tree line that you see. And it's an important and rare ecosystem, and there's a lot of rare species there. And caribou also rely heavily on it for breeding in early spring. And so as these will slowly disappear if warming goes unabated, and that is not good. All right, so a little tally of the points. We have the babes with 1,075 points. Sorry, let me just... Oh, wow, we have a tie going on between the babes and the opulence, and then just behind, we have Backstreet Jars with 950.
Oh, let's do cool. Yeah.
No, it's the babes.
The babes, it is your turn.
Santa or Coral? Okay, we'll do nature impacts for 400.
Nature impacts for 400. Coral. How is climate change causing coral reefs to bleach and die? There are two answers worth 200 points each. You have 30 seconds. Probably don't need it though.
Yeah. So there's a rise in CO2 in water, which is dropping the pH, and so the reaction to make the exoskeletons of the coral cannot happen, and then there's the rise in temperatures in water that doesn't allow for the symbiosis to happen between the coral and between the two organisms that are symbionts in the coral.
Beautiful answer. The best answer I've ever gotten for that question, resident biologist. So, like Jordy said, there's two things. There's the rising acidity from carbon as it gets integrated into the ocean. The ocean absorbs a huge amount of carbon from our atmosphere, and it absorbs a lot of the heat as well. So the acidity affects the calcium carbonate, which they use to build their exoskeletons. And then we have the symbiotic relationship between algae and corals, which help corals survive because it gives them certain nutrients, and it gives algae protection because they live in the corals. And they like a very specific temperature, so as the temperature rises, they move away from the coral reefs and find other shelter, and that leaves the corals to die because they don't have the right nutrients. And it's an important symbiotic relationship that is being affected by climate change.
Sustainable opulence, you choose your question.
Sustainable opulence.
We'll take food for 400. Human impact.
Food for 400, human impacts.
Food.
Which of the following is false concerning how climate change will likely affect food in Canada? A, the crop yields of farms in Canada will increase. B, cows will produce more milk.
Boo cops.
Oink, oink. Fruits and veggies will have less nutritional value, or D, exotic fruits will be less available. You have 30 seconds. Yeah, the bar went down automatically. I think there's a bug with that one. All right.
I pick B.
You pick B?
Yeah,
that
that's
what you did?
false, right?
That's correct. Well done for 400 points. Cows will produce less milk because of climate change. And that's because heat stress actually reduces milk production, and cows have they increase the amount of milk they produce until around, I think, 28 degrees Celsius, and then after that it reduces, so they will produce less milk. For the other questions. Of course, Canada in general is actually going to have a longer growing season, so we will have a higher production of food staples. Everywhere you see on this map that's green will have higher yields, orange is lower, and yellow is no gain or loss. So of course, in Europe and North America, we're seeing a lot of gains, but a lot of the rest of the world, where a huge amount of population is, there are reductions. So this is going to cause a lot of instability, which is not good, of course. And then less exotic foods, because these areas will have lower yields. They will have less access to exotic foods. And then also, vitamins and minerals in plants actually reduce as carbon dioxide increases, because carbon dioxide is used to build, for these plants to build themselves, and they spread out their vitamins and minerals more across a larger surface area, and so they're less nutrient dense. Okay.
For the back street.
It's almost like a split switch. Like the usual like produce producing regions are gonna end up being like completely devoid, or like I don't know, the usual like non-producing regions are gonna be like.
Yeah. Yeah. That's.
And which regions were most responsible for
I know, exactly,
climate crisis?
No, exactly. It's gonna
Yeah.
be crazy.
It's part of the uneven impacts, which is really unfortunate, is of course the places that are causing climate change are going to benefit in some ways, but a lot of migration will happen because of this as well. So hopefully these places will make up for it by accepting immigration. All right. Backstreet jars. I think
Personal solutions for 400.
Yeah, we'll do one more round. Sorry, personal solutions.
400 local.
Local, okay. For 400 points, personal solutions. What can we pressure our local government to do to address climate change? I'm looking for 4 answers, and they're 100 points each. If you don't get 4 answers, it's going to go to the answers that you don't get will go to the other teams to try to answer. All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so if our local governments can first divest from fossil, like divest their money from fossil industries, try to support local economies more, invest in sustainable or affordable, sustainable transportation, and
Transition to carbon neutral infrastructure?
Yeah, I'll take it. 400 points for the backstreet jars. So of course, there's plenty of things municipal governments can do. Invest in clean transportation, like you said, energy efficiency, improving building efficiency as well, waste management, public transportation, regenerative agriculture, which is a type of agriculture that actually absorbs carbon instead of releasing it, and disclosing pollution data as well, so we can find where our most polluting sectors are, and then protect natural areas because their carbon sinks. And that's it. Good job. And just in general, even when our federal governments are not necessarily super keen on climate action, cities can have a huge impact. This is just a list of a bunch of cities in North America. Yeah, North America. Or no, it's just America, or United States rather. And you can see all the cities that have our bars going to the left have reduced their emissions over this whatever period this is. Since 1990. And so even when Trump was leading the country, they still reduced. So you could see Los Angeles reduced by 45%. So there's a lot that could be done at the municipal level.
Especially in like Canada and the US, or from both countries, and just the way that our government's working with it, it's set up. Like our individual states and provinces have like a huge degree of autonomy to like kind of organize themselves accordingly, but so do like our municipalities, so do like our little like, or like, you know, our towns, townships. There's tons that can be done, even if it's going literally directly against the status quo of whoever is formally in charge of the whole state. Like, we do have the advantage of like, you will see like there's, even like where I grew up in Canada, like city by city, they had completely different attitudes towards like environmentalism. There was like different amounts of green spaces, but like, I don't know. There's also like, yeah, people love young people, like, you know, government officials love young people who are asking them to change or like giving them little platforming ideas. So don't be afraid to get involved.
Yeah, and that's really where we have a lot of power. It's just going to municipal things because of that direct connection, whereas politicians that are at a federal level tend to be disconnected, and it's harder to pressure them. So it's a great place to put your energy. All right, we'll do one last quick round. We have 10 minutes left.
Okay, we got to do
babes.
CO2. Yeah, okay. Climate science for 400.
Okay, CO2. How much carbon have we put into the atmosphere since the year 1870? The unit of measurement is in billions or millions of elephants. We have 3 billion, 112 million, 136 billion, or 990 billion. You have 30 seconds, and there's a little hint at the bottom if you want to do some quick math.
You can't use your phone.
Take your time, take your time, take your time.
So you'll have the time.
Okay, with a ton of confidence, we're gonna go with C.
C is correct.
Yes.
So it's 136 billion elephants. So that's equivalent of 2.3 trillion tons of CO2 from human activities. And we use elephants just to help, because when you say gigatons or megatons, who knows what that means? Whereas an elephant, we know what elephants look like. So that's a lot of elephants.
Kinds of elephants, you see?
Yeah, I think this is African.
That would have changed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rigged. The game is rigged. So that was what you saw there was just 1,000 elephants. This is just 100,000 elephants. So that's 0.0007% of the total weight of CO2 emissions. So you can see we really added a lot to the system, and these greenhouse gases warm things. So that's how climate change is happening. Okay. On that note. Opulence. This is your final.
We're gonna take extreme.
Extreme for 300 points. Human impacts.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Name 2 extreme natural events that we will experience more often because of climate change. You gotta get both. If one of them is wrong.
Forest fires and snowstorms.
Okay.
Flooding.
Really extreme though.
Yeah?
The
You didn't use the word blizzard.
Locusts.
Yeah, we weren't. It's the first time I get snowstorms. It's a bit. I want to say no.
I said squalls.
What's that?
It was the we, like humans.
Yeah, it is humans.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick second chance for another answer.
Agricultural devastation.
drought.
Well done. So that's for 300 points. That puts sustainable opulence slightly behind the Babe. So, of course, there's droughts, sea level rise, floods, heat waves, forest fires, and over 80% of the world's population already experiences serious threat to water security. You can see here a 4-year drought in California completely changed the landscape. And yeah, something that's not here is hurricanes, because it's actually debatable. In the past, when there was warming period, hurricanes actually reduced, and when it's a cooling period, hurricanes increase. So hurricanes is a bit off here, this list. There's a lot of debate there, but anyway. I'm not sure. I would imagine there's more tornadoes because there's more energy in the system, but I'm not certain.
I think they're also like the tornadoes form when it's like warm air meets like
The front.
air.
Yeah.
Like it kind of mixes.
Okay, Backstreet Boys are our last question, just for update. Babe says, did I say something wrong?
You said boys.
Backstreet Boys. Come on, Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Jars.
I keep wanting to say Backstreet Babes, but so Backstreet Jars has 1350, Babes 1875, Sustainable Opulence 1775.
It can still thinks it can come back around.
Yeah, it
and
could
I
come back
trust
around.
That you will get it, but
There's some
still think.
favoritism going on.
I'm
It's
just
rigged.
letting the information be circulated.
All right, but yeah, some of these have bonus questions, so if you pick a bonus question one, then you could actually go back up to first place.
Climate science for 300, please.
The past. Which natural phenomenon is not used to help us understand the climate of the past? Is it A, ice sheets, B, lake mud, C, tree rings, D, coral reefs, or E, volcanic rocks? Which is not used? We have 30 seconds. Yeah, but you just 4 teams.
Okay, we're gonna say D, coral reefs.
That is false.
Oh man, it's going back to the Babes.
To the Babes for 150 points.
No, I think, okay, yeah. Okay, we're going to go with ice sheets.
Oh, that's false as well.
So,
Oh my.
It would be for 75.
Yeah.
But-
Maybe we'll bump it up. Let's hear it. Opulence.
Well, we'll see.
B, liquid.
Oh, that's false as well.
Can we
The
guess
answer is
again?
E, volcanic rocks. So the scores stay the same.
It's volcanic rock.
Okay, we got a little bit of a bug there, but the lake sediment.
You said ice sheets, not ice cores.
Well, the ice sheet is used to make the ice core. Yeah, but they're from the ice cores. Yeah, they take the cores from the ice sheets. Yeah.
Okay, well, we learned something today. Thank you, Alex.
So just to wrap it up, so tree rings, this is actually my field of study, so don't question me on it. I study tree rings, and you could study the widths and the components of the tree rings to understand the past climate. Then ice cores, they literally take a huge core of the ice sheets, and they have air bubbles that go back 800,000 years, and you can see what the atmosphere was like from those air bubbles. And there's also isotopes and other things, but you could see volcanic ash leaving a layer, and you could see when there's big volcanic eruptions as well. Coral reefs, similar to tree rings, their thicknesses vary with sea temperatures, and lake sediments. There's a bunch of pollen and charcoal and other things in the sediment that is extracted and studied to model past climate as the ecosystems move and the pollen changes. And what do they tell us? They tell us that we are going outside of the safe zone. So this is temperature over the last 20,000 years. And since civilization started around, let's say, 10,000 years ago, we've been in a 1 degree variation of temperature, and it's slowly been getting cooler, and now we're just outside that at 1.29 degrees. And business as usual, if nothing changed, we would go all the way to 5 degrees. So there's no way that's going to happen. It's projected to be more like 2 to 3. So for civilization's sake, we want to stay in the safe zone. And all of these different data points from different paleoproxies, which are what these are called, show the same thing. All right, so that's it for today. Our winners are the babes, just barely. That's you guys. Congratulations, babes. We have prizes for you. Just give, it's a bit of a, give Christian, even though Christian is on the team.
Office of Sustainability will be giving out prizes. We have to check inventory, so we'll be contacting the winners. You'll be getting a prize shortly. I'll collect everyone's emails, and you'll come pick a prize.
It is looking a bit rigged now, though.
I'm not going to get a prize.
And just a reminder that this is part of World Climate Justice Education Week, so please check that out. And in general, thank you for playing. This is a resource that we're sharing with a bunch of educators to try to have engaging presentations about climate change so people know about the impact, science, and solutions. And thank you to the Sustainability Action Fund for helping us make this, the Department of Geography, Planning, and Environment. The writers and researchers that made this, our link tree is here if you want to see what else the Climate Emergency Committee does, and our email as well. Thank you to Forespace. Thank you to Zucker for hosting the event. And thank you for playing. Hope you had fun.
Thank you. Ooh, am I muted? Thanks everyone for coming in today. Thanks, Alex. So great to have Climate Geopardy back. Everyone online, just let you know that we'll be closing up the Zoom and the live stream now, but if you'd like to revisit this on our YouTube channel,